listening to KFFR Winter Park, 88.3 FM. We're Grand County Community Radio, located at the headwaters of the Colorado River, streamed worldwide at kffr.org. All right, welcome to the second hour of Mateo's Magic Bus. DJ Mateo with you, and we're excited to have on the bus today Colemine recording artist Kendra Morris, who has just released a few singles and a video, and is getting ready for some maybe some more. And one of those singles, which we just played, "Dear Buddy," as you all just heard, deeply moving love letter to her 10-year-old, and newest track from Kendra, who's based in Brooklyn. And so since Mateo's Magic Bus left the station in 2019 here on KFFR, we've been playing Kendra's great catalog of music, and her soulful sounds really hit on our key roots. So glad to have you here today, and a big KFFR welcome for you, Kendra.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's dial it back a little bit. Start with your origin story. You're born, and stop me if any of this is not totally accurate. Born I think not far from the Bay Area, and came up in Florida, and then your musical journey really started to take off when you moved to Brooklyn in the early 2000s. And so let's step back through that a little bit. Talk to us about some of your early influences, and what really helped you along. I think there's maybe something to do with your parents' record collection, and what are some of those artists and bands that stick out for you now, and sort of bring us up to that initial period for you in New York when you really started to take off.
Yeah, my parents had this stereo record cabinet, and then it also stored all of their records. And they didn't have a huge collection, but they had a great condensed collection, which I think worked out for me because as like a kid, my mind was a mile a minute. And I think if it had been some crazy collection, I might have gotten overwhelmed, or maybe not. Maybe I would know, like, I'd be some sort of album whiz right now. But basically, like, I got into their collection at a really young age. Like, my dad would have us do chores on Saturdays, and I always tell people, like, he would wake us up with like the Spinners on the stereo, or War, or Tower of Power. And like,
I love all these bands. Okay,
it was
cool.
just the best. Even though I had to do chores, it was still like the best way to wake up on a Saturday, because it was just like sun shining, Florida weather, my mom sometimes cooking something, and then like really good music. Like, he would blast it through the house. So that's how I started my days. And then it's my dogs. When I when I moved out, I remember I was like, I bought like a Croxley record player, and I like went over to their house one night, and I just was like, just I was just like, I'll just help myself to these. And I went and took all the records, and like, so then it was like they returned to me, and I just remember being in my first apartment and just falling back in love with all those albums. And it was like War, Tower of Power, Crosby, Stills and Nash, early Jackson 5, Foghat. Like, it just was a really good uh collection of like records that you would want to be turned on to. And I also listened to an oldies radio station. I didn't listen to the pop stations. I listened to the oldies, like 60s, 70s soul music stations.
Awesome. Well, one little anecdote there. I slept out all night to get tickets to a Foghat show one time. So I know the journey there, but all those albums were in our collection too. So that's really cool. So so sort of take us to that Genesis moment. So you started playing guitar, I think, and then you started to play out, and you joined a band that I think moved to New York, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been singing forever. Like, I went to an arts high school and
Hmm.
studied musical theater, but kind of musical theater never was like, I was never passionate about that. I just wanted to sing, but I didn't want to sing standards, like, because there was different majors. Like, you could be a vocal major, but then you're doing like classical, and I was like, I don't want to ruin singing for myself. So I did the musical theater because the songs were a little bit more fun, but I was always still just listening to like those records, those stations. And I, in the back of my head, like, I was always writing little songs as a kid just for myself, like making songs, like bouncing vocals on my karaoke machine. Like I never used it for karaoke. It was to learn how to bounce cassettes. And
Right,
so
right.
I went to college and started singing in bands. But I was like, I remember I even like went and got hired to sing in like a cover band out at like a popular bar. And it was fun, but I remember being like, I don't want to sing other people's songs. Like I want to sing my songs and I want to be the boss. Like all these things.
You're
But in
good at
order
it. You
hey,
should be.
then I was like, well, I guess if I'm gonna sing my own songs, I need to have an instrument. So my dad is an incredible guitarist. So I told
Mm.
him that and we went out and got a guitar and I just kind of salt and peppered lessons with him, lessons with another guy that I knew like here and there. And then it was just a lot of self-taught. And so that was it. I was like singing in like coffee houses, like doing everything. And then suddenly it was like, I want to have a band because I was in someone else's band again. And I was like, I don't want to be singing original songs in someone else's band. I want to be singing original songs in my band. So it's always, call me
Hmm.
selfish if you want, but it's always like, well, I want to experience it in with my own limitations, not someone else's limitations.
Right, right. Well, so then, you get to New York and you start. So on that, in that vein, I know you're with the band. I don't think that lasted very long, but it got you there,
Oh.
right? So it got you to Brooklyn, right? Which is key.
Mhm.
I'm sensing that's an important development in this story. And so let's get right into that. So this is a really, I mean, just what an amazing, I don't know, I'll just call it sort of 7 to 10 years, where you recorded your own songs on an 8 track and your first EP in 2010. So I'm just going to mention a couple things along here. And your producer was Jeremy Page, who I think you were with for quite a while. And you did tours around the songs and albums you were coming out with, Banshee, Mockingbird. You got some really incredible placements in films and TV. Banshee was on Ray Donovan, Pink Floyd, that you did Shine on Crazy Diamond, which is an amazing version of that. He was in motion picture. And then you kept releasing, more albums. So that sort of period between like 2008 and 2015, 16, I mean, just as prolific, right? I mean, so you were on a roll. What looking back now on that period, what stands out for you?
I mean, just watching the fruits of hard work, like, because I've never, I mean, so many people can, like, we look back at it as you get older, you get this gift of looking back and seeing all the different phases of yourself and all the things like, oh, I had this job. And I've always had all these crazy stories, but I've had this fine thread through mine, which for mine, it's just being passionate about creating creating music, creating, writing songs, performing, making art. Like that's been the fine thread. So always my entire life, with all these lives I've lived, I still have had this one thing. And so when you're working hard and doing something you're passionate about, there's a ball in motion no matter what. Like even if you try to put the brakes on it, it takes a second for the brakes like
Hmm.
to stop rolling. So I think between, I mean, I got to New York in 2005. It was right after that. It was right during the end of the year 2004 election. And it was just, Collins, I had a job in a bar for years. And I think in the back of my mind, or in the front of my mind, I decided to work in a job that didn't involve music because I wanted to always be passionate about what I did. And I knew if suddenly I was like, you know, being a craftsman of music, I wouldn't have been passionate about it the way. So I always had like the money from working my butt off in restaurants and bars. And yeah, between 2008 was probably, I had started doing these like, after Pinktricity, which was my band that I moved there with, I remember we had this huge falling out. I'm friends with my old bandmates now, but at the time it was really ugly. And
Hmm.
the rule was like you can't use any of the songs. And I just remember being like, I wasn't sad. I was like, okay, like I'll write more. And so I did. That's when I got the 8 track. And that's when like I wrote just I had so many songs coming out of me. I wrote for like 2 years and I would put them up on iTunes. I would put them up on MySpace. Um, and like little, there would be like little crumbs of people being like, I really like this, or people would come to my show. And then even like meeting Jeremy and doing starting to make demos with him and EPs, and then having little breadcrumbs again. And it was just kind of like a Hansel and Gretel sort of thing. Well, I'm gonna just follow and see where this leads. And it just kind of kept one thing would lead to another. And it was never, I never had like crazy expectations. Like some people find the breadcrumbs and then have these insane expectations, and you're left with disappointment. But for me, it was always like, this is exciting and fun. I'm just going to ride this and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. And I think like, I don't even sometimes realize all the periods when people are like, wow, you've done so much. I don't even realize it sometimes because I'm just having fun.
Right.
Like,
It's
I
not
just
work.
love it. It's not work. I
Right.
love it so much.
Well,
Um, but
well,
yeah.
you mentioned it a few times. So, and before we go on to the next question, I want to just note that you're listening to KFFR, Mateo's Magic Bus on KFFR and KWTR, and we have excited to have in the studio with us Kendra Morris, recording artist with Colemine and many others along the years, and her incredible soulful music and catalog is. Just incredible, and her story as well. And as you're hearing, just super passionate about the journey as well. And so, one thing I didn't want to lose sight of is your work, also as a visual artist. And I know that's sort of like they come along together, right? So I know you've been
Mhm.
doing a lot with that, and I just want to touch on that and hear what your perspective is on the two together.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, it's really, I've like, even I remember in fifth grade, I got an award for, for being, what was it? I got the multi-talented award. And, but it was always like, my dad is a visual artist and plays an instrument and sings. And my mom is really creative and sings. And it was always just like, stretch your muscles, like go with,
Mm,
it was fun. And like over the years, I started to discover that there is no rules to art, and there's no boundaries or lines to it. You don't have to be just this one thing because they can work in tandem. And like I realized that because I started doing collaging and collage animation. I worked in that bar. Like I worked in this dive
hmm
bar. They had books all over the walls. It's called the Library Bar. It's still there. It's on
hmm
Avenue and Houston. And I would work the day shifts, and I would be like so bored. But then I started like I had made like little friends that would come in and hang out with me, and I'd be like, how do I entertain these three people like for 8 hours and hope that I'll make enough money to pay my bills? And so I started like doing arts and crafts with everyone in the bar. I'd pull the books off the walls and we'd collage. Right around then was when I had signed with Wax Poetics, and they had a budget for a few music videos, but then maybe this was even around when I was starting to phase. I can't remember, but basically there wasn't like tons of money for music videos, and it was right as when music videos suddenly, like, social media was starting to become the major thing. This was before how big it is now. And I just didn't have money for music videos.
hmm
So I was like, well, I'll just make my own. And I had a good friend, and like one day I was like, let's make a stop motion video. And like we did, and it was so much fun. And like from there, it just kind of, I kept doing it. And I just was like, I can just make my own. I had a little Zoom recorder camera, and I was always just making little videos and little things. Um, and then as time went by, I would post them online, and you just keep doing something and you gotta get better. So I always just did these little things for myself, but then other people started being like, hey, can you do that for me? And I was like, well, sure, I don't have anything going on right now. Or so I just kind of kept doing it and getting better. And I realized when I would work on these visual projects, when I go back to write a song, the song was better. Like
Mm,
there was a different
interesting.
inspiration. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I had like a great conversation with a guy at the bar one day. Like this bar was like the best school that I didn't have to pay for. There was a guy that came in one day and he was like drawing and like the drawings were really cool. And I was like, what are you drawing? And I was like, are you an artist? Are you an illustrator? And he's like, I'm actually a drummer. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I bring my sketch pad and I sketch. And when I go back to drumming, I'm better. And like that really stuck with me, I think. And like now I wholeheartedly believe that because I've seen that with my own stuff. And like
Mm.
recently, I've spent this last year combining my visual art and my music. Like everything you've been hearing lately is 100% tied to the visuals.
Hmm.
Like they're a thing that are completely in tandem together. So it's been kind of a wild experiment, but I always tell people, I'm like, everybody's creative. It's a muscle. Like it's the muscle that you just need to, like, whatever muscle you're working, and if you want to, like, just work out the muscle and your other muscles, just remember, like, you don't know where your gift is, but it's there.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And uh let's then kind of stay in the moment ish. Talk about your time with Colemine and what's that meant, for you. I mean, it's just an incredible group and so many incredible musicians. I mean, so you have this sort of collective there, right? That maybe not
Mhm.
sure how much you bounce off with other musicians that are part of that, but then you've got some new songs that are out as well. And we've played a couple of them, and then after we're done, we'll play the third one. And I've watched the video; it's incredible. So sort of, where things are now, and your relationship with Colemine as well.
Man, I mean, coal mine was like that was just a beautiful thing to have fallen into. Um, I got together with Terry back right before COVID hit.
Mm.
We connected. We'd been floating around in each other's circle, and I don't remember. I think I got his email from somebody, and I just cold emailed him and was like, "Hey, my name's Kendra. I put out this song. And he wrote me back, and it just kind of, we started with just a single. We did a 45 for This Life, and it
Hmm.
just, like, Terry is just a good person, and he has built his, I mean, I think him and I are a lot alike, where we look at our careers and what we're doing, and we have built, like, I feel the same way with the way that I built my career, is like you build the people you want to be around up around you. So like the artist that he signs, he has to like get along with them personally.
Mm.
Like he has to be inspired by them. There's all these things that have made for what Colemine is. Like everybody on that label, I could message anybody from Colemine right now and be like, hey, like, everybody's so friendly and loving and supports each other, like plays shows together, pushes each other's music. And that's because Terry picked, like, not only really talented, creative people, but really nice people. And you see the fruit of that.
Right,
Um,
right.
so like working with Colemine has just been, I always tell people, like, as an artist in this day and age, it's really hard to feel secure. I mean, streaming, we make 0.0003 cents.
Right.
There's the issue of AI. There's all these things, so many things as an artist. It's a really scary, unstable time. But I feel really secure with Colemine. With
Mm.
whatever happens, I know that we have each other's back.
Right, right. Well, then talk to us about the new songs. I think there's three, right? There, if I have all of them,
Mm-hmm.
three that are out, and then
Yeah.
your video and what's your current sort of inspiration point around those?
Um, well, yeah, there's In My House, Dear Buddy, and If I Called You. And the exciting thing about these songs is I co-produced these with Terry, which I've never done before. I've never
Hmm.
been behind the production of something, and it's always been more of a collaboration. But for this record, back to me being like, I want to be the boss. Like, I need to do this. This is 100% example of the pattern of me. Um, where I just was ready to take the steering wheel and I wanted to make songs that feel like I do as an artist, which if you look at my art, it's very raw. Like it's so imperfect. It's a little janky, but it has like a lot of heart in it because I sit there and click my camera to move something and make a big picture and move things. And like I wanted my music, I wanted these next songs to feel like that too, where you can feel the movement. Like, so the production is extremely simple. And I wanted to just write really great songs because if you make a great song, you can produce it 10,000 different ways. Like you can go to town with the production, but a
Right.
great song can also, it can be just stripped down to nothing and it's still a good song. And that's what I wanted to make with these songs.
All right. Well, bringing it back into the station, as that's a term we use for Mateo's Magic Bus, the bus coming back into the station. And, so just kind of looking out, wondering what plans you had. Hopefully you have a tour at some point. We'd love to have you in Colorado and have you up here at KFFR. We're close to Denver, but about 4 or 5 thousand feet up from there. But you have a lot of fans out here. So just kind of what do you have planned for what's the future hold for you?
um, man, I was so close to coming through Colorado this summer, but it didn't work out. I will be on tour supporting Surprise Chef this July. We
Hmm.
go up the East Coast in Canada up through Chicago and then back home. And then this
Cool.
fall I'm on tour again, doing a headline tour. Again, I'm missing you guys though. I'm going all the way from the East Coast all the way to Chicago area again and
Hmm.
then home. So
Okay.
I'm so close. Just gotta,
Yep.
but
Well, we'll get you out here. We'll get you out
yeah,
here for sure.
bug my booking agent and my
I
manager.
will. I will. I definitely will. Well, Kendra, this has been amazing. We love your music. We love you. You can't wait to. We'll just put it out there. You can't wait to have you out here. And when you are coming to Colorado, we'll definitely get you into the station and do a show here. And really look forward to seeing all the great things to come. And appreciate you being on KFFR.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.